What if I told you the ads that you love, the ones that feel honest, empowering, even emotional, were strategically crafted to make you feel that way? And what if I told you this kind of marketing isn't just about ads, but it also shapes how you vote, who you trust, and what ultimately you believe without you realizing it? Today, I'm breaking down the psychology behind emotional marketing, from dating apps to presidential campaigns. When something feels true, keyword feels, it bypasses the logic completely, which of course is kind of the point. When it's done well, emotional marketing doesn't feel like marketing at all. It feels like truth, like alignment, like connection, belonging, identity, even. It feels like someone pulled the words or the feelings right out of your head and your heart and said them back to you. It's that moment during a speech when you're thinking, yes, yes, exactly. That's the power of persuasion. And to persuade doesn't mean to drag you somewhere you don't want to go. It means guiding you from a place you already believe in, using emotion to move you in a specific direction. And this is exactly what persuasion expert Robert Cialdini pointed to when he wrote, people say yes most often to those they know and like, but liking is often based on perceived similarity, values, interests, and beliefs. In other words, we're not moved by logic alone. We're moved by emotional alignment. When a message feels familiar, like something we already believe, it slips past our filters. And that's when it starts to shape us. And that's what makes it so powerful because behind the scenes, there are teams of marketers, researchers, and psychologists working to uncover the exact things that make their audience, you, tick. What you like, what your behavior reveals about you. By the way, that's only getting easier now to track thanks to our devices. What pains you, what overwhelms you, what you crave, what you fear, what you're skeptical of. And that's without even getting to the basics, age, gender, location, which, by the way, they absolutely track. Because the more they know about you, the easier it is to speak directly to you in your language with your emotions, using your identity as the hook. This level of detail is what allows your favorite brands and political leaders to sell you things, ideas, and beliefs that feel like your own. And it's not a new trick. Emotional persuasion wrapped in clever messaging has been around for decades. And to really understand how emotional marketing works on you today, you have to first see how it's worked on everyone for years. Because when you look back at the most iconic campaigns, from cars to dating apps to presidential candidates, you start to see the same pattern. They don't just sell you a product or a person, they sell a feeling, a value. They sell you back to yourself. So let's travel back to the 1960s with one of the most iconic ad campaigns that did just this. In 1960, Volkswagen ran an ad that stopped people in their tracks. One word, bold and unapologetic: lemon. Now, in American slang, lemon means a defective car. It's like when you buy a car and something keeps going wrong. So then you have to fix this, then you have to fix that. That means you got a lemon. But what Volkswagen did was use that exact word deliberately to build trust. They cleverly subverted the negative connotation of lemon to highlight their commitment to quality control. The ad copy explained that this specific car didn't pass inspection, not because it was dangerous, but because there was a tiny blemish on the chrome strip. Revealing a small flaw isn't a weakness, it's a tactic. Psychologists call it the pratfall effect. When a brand admits a minor imperfection, it actually makes them more trustworthy and likable. And by trusting the viewer to get the joke, it made them feel clever and in on it and emotionally aligned with the brand. All at once, it tapped into humor, surprise, and self awareness. It tapped into the audience need for authenticity, transparency, and attention to detail, positioning Volkswagen as a brand that held itself to impossibly high standards. They didn't just sell you a car, they sold you a feeling, trust. The idea that what others might hide, they openly reveal. That transparency became their differentiator. Now, fast forward to 2019 when the dating app Hinge launched their campaign with the tagline, designed to be deleted. I remember when I first saw this ad campaign, it was when I was living in New York City back in 2019. And I remember seeing these posters and billboards and ads throughout the city, on the metro, seeing the commercials and thinking just how brilliant it was that Hinge was tapping into this core desire of ultimately wanting real and true love. So much so that you have to delete the app because deleting the app means you found true love. Now, as you and I both know, most apps want you addicted. So, what Hinge did was call that out and use the fact that their audience knows this and flipped it by positioning itself as the app that wants you to leave. That's a paradox. And emotionally, it works. Because if you're tired of swiping, burned out from hookups, or just want something real and lasting, Hinge is speaking directly to that pain point. They didn't just market what the app can do, they marketed a feeling, hope, closure, emotional safety. That kind of branding doesn't just get users, it creates believers. It says, we understand how exhausting this is. We want to help you be done with it. That was the genius of Hinge's marketing campaign. And by the way, it worked. The campaign led to a 47% increase in app downloads, an 18% rise in users deleting the app, just like the campaign promised, and a threefold boost in revenue. By leaning into emotional resonance and subverting traditional growth logic, Hinge became the fastest growing dating app in its category, attracting users who wanted something real, even if that meant never opening the app again. But this marketing strategy goes way beyond dating apps. Now, let me pause for a second because in politics, these strategies are also used, but with much higher stakes. Political campaigns are emotional marketing at the highest level. You're not just selling a candidate, you're selling an identity. So, if emotional ads can make you trust a brand, what happens when that same strategy is used to win your vote? Remember the 2024 campaign commercial that Trump ran saying Kamala Harris is for they, them, President Trump is for you? Well, before he ever said that, there was already a brewing emotional landscape. A large part of the population was feeling overlooked, disconnected from elite institutions, and the rapid social shifts around identity and language, in short, woke ideology. They were watching these changes unfold and feeling like they were being forced to adapt to values they hadn't signed on for, including the rise of censorship and cancel culture and policing language and so on. So when Trump said, she's for they, them, I'm for you, it landed. It was short, it was memorable, it was personal, and it did a lot of the emotional heavy lifting. It painted his opponent as abstract, ideological, and aligned with virtue signaling, not substance. And it positioned him as just like you. It tapped into a sense of being unheard and unrepresented and flipped that pain into being seen, being heard, and being represented. So, whether you agree with the message or not, that's beside the point. It was powerful marketing. And as you know, he ultimately became president elect. Both candidates made their emotional pitch clear, starting with their slogans. Make America Great Again spoke to nostalgia, grievance, and a desire to reclaim something lost. For the people, tapped into visibility, inclusion, and being represented. Two simple and memorable slogans with the same strategy, tapping into identity, emotion, and belonging, all core human needs. I could honestly go further into picking apart our recent election marketing campaigns or even just Trump himself, which is honestly a masterclass in marketing, but I'll save that for a future video. So, what connects all of this from a car ad to a dating app to a presidential campaign? It isn't just persuasion, it's emotion. They're not just giving you information, they're giving you a feeling. And that feeling becomes the lens you view the world through. And when they've done the heavy research and they know their audience like the back of their hand, they use that to guide their campaign. They mirror you back to you subtly and in their desired direction. Powerful marketing wants to hold up a mirror to you so that you see yourself in them if it believes you are its audience. And just to be clear, emotional marketing isn't always a bad thing. It can drive meaningful change and connect people to ideas that actually make the world better. But it doesn't hurt to have your eyes open to this. So next time an ad or a campaign hits you in the gut, pause and ask yourself, What feeling or belief am I being sold right now and why? And is it as straightforward as they're just trying to make a sale, or is it deeper? Are they selling me a belief or an identity? Because once you see the strategy, it's a lot harder to be swept up by it. And speaking of powerful marketing, what's the last ad or commercial that really got you emotionally? And do you know why it worked? Drop that in the comments. If you like this kind of breakdown, I'll be making a lot more content like this. So hit subscribe and ring the bell to be notified when my next video drops. Until next time, stay curious and stay grounded.